to Maxing You. This is our very first podcast. We're so happy that you're here today. I'm just really excited to jump in. So this is a project that's been very close to my heart because I feel that we encompass everything you need to know about all things important. So we're talking about things like body wellness, fitness, nutrition. We're talking about mindfulness. We're going to chat about relationships. And then we're going to jump back into overall self-care and what that looks like. So this podcast will have interviews of experts in various areas, and we'll just chat and, talk about what's relevant for the times and how we can help each other grow. So I am a mom of 4 kids under the age of 5. I'm an entrepreneur. I have had several businesses, and I'm currently working on an app project. I am multifaceted, just like many of you, and yet still, I'm always looking for ways to grow. And that's the purpose of this very podcast. So my background is in matchmaking. And so I was a matchmaker for some time, had lots of success. It was awesome. And then one day I had a client that ended up, not being exactly who I thought, they were. And I learned a really big lesson. And out of that was born this project and a few other projects that I have. And so I wanted to start teaching people how they can better themselves instead of looking for ways that, other people can fix their problems. So that's the premise of this podcast. And so today I'll tell you a little bit about why these areas are important to me. And, as we get into the next episode, we'll start having guests, like I was saying, and we'll sort of dive deeper in. So fitness and nutrition is huge for me. I am Mrs. Marilyn 2019. So what was cool about that was it really brought fitness and nutrition to kind of the forefront of my life. I'd been doing fitness and nutrition for, some time, personal trainer, nutrition expert, and that was cool, right? But I had to figure out a way in my life that I could incorporate fitness and nutrition in a way that was incredibly sustainable for me. Because being a mom, being a businesswoman, I needed to know, okay, how can I get this done? How can I get optimal results? Not just okay results so I could fit into my jeans. I wanted to look good and I wanted to do it in a way that was time efficient. So I'm going to be sharing my tips and tricks on, those areas. And then we'll be bringing in guests that, are in the fitness realm and the nutrition realm and seeing what they have to say. Because we all know that the trends are always changing. And if we can jump ahead of them and learn, that'd be great. So that's fitness and nutrition. I am also, like I said, a personal trainer. So I've got clients all over. So when COVID hit, I started doing lots of virtual personal training. I've got lots of groups. And what's really cool is that my premise is always the sustainability aspect, because we've all been there where you spend some time in the gym, you're on a roll, it works out for a few months, and then you stop, right? Or your diet, you don't stick with it because it's a diet, it's not a lifestyle. So for my clients, it's really important to me that they see really sustainable results that are easy for them to follow and that just make little tweaks to their life. They don't even feel like they're on a diet or have changed anything, and they feel overall, much better. So that's my take on fitness and nutrition and why I think that's going to be a staple here. And when you feel better, everything kind of goes better. It's not just about your outward appearance, but also how you feel on the inside. So next up is self-care. So I love this segment, maybe more than any other, because self-care is so important. There's not a single person who's listening that's not in the rat race of their life. We all are. And we find time for everything. We find time for work. We find time for the kids. We find time for our partners. But we kind of put ourselves on the back burner and then we're beat up and worn out, right? And so it's important to me to show people that it's okay to make time for themselves. And it doesn't mean that we're selfish, but it means that we're sort of pouring into ourselves so that we can be, better stewards of the people who are in our lives. And that's really an important tenet. So next up is mindfulness. And mindfulness is a topic that I've kind of had a relationship with for some time. So I consider myself to be, somewhat of a spiritual person, not a perfect person, but a spiritual person always trying to evolve. And so, I began noticing many years ago kind of how like my mind was always going. Like even once I got home, it was still kind of like replaying the day's events from the office, the day's conversations with other people. And I thought like, okay, I'm kind of got to slow this down. So I started doing meditation. At the time it was TM meditation, transcendental meditation. And so that was kind of cool. It was pretty easy. It was like 2 times a day for 20 minutes. And it allowed me to quiet my mind and become aware. And so I kind of did that off and on. I'm back into it now. But for me, mindfulness is, the practice of being able to be aware that there are thoughts that are happening incessantly, figuring out how we can slow them down and how to have less judgment about those thoughts and, form more quiet and peaceful time with ourselves. And I think that that's optimal, not just from a place of, everyone's not spiritual, not from a place of woo woo, but from a place of like being more productive at work, being more present with our families and friends. And so I think that's a huge topic that we could all stand to benefit for. And although this is episode 1, we are coming right in the midst also of the holiday season. And so it's a great time for us to sort of be veering that way because things will get stressful. It's been one hell of a year. And then finally, relationships. That's a huge topic. And that's got to be definitely like probably my second favorite topic. And so I have learned so much about relationships over the years. I've had, numerous clients that have been successful finding partners, with me being the matchmaker, and that's been awesome. But what's really been cool is the way in which they have been able to sustain their relationships. So let me give you the backstory. So when I first started matchmaking, it was pretty simple. Someone paid me a hefty fee. I found their partner, and then that was it, right? And then, when they found a match, they didn't need my services anymore. And then I, after the incident that I was telling you guys about with the client, I decided, okay, I've got to do something different. And so while I was still actively taking clients, I said, here's the deal. I'm going to help you find love. But before we get to that, we're going to work on you, which means you're going to be on my fitness plan. You're going to be following my nutrition. We're going to work on some mindfulness. And then we're going to work on self-care, which a lot of times in dating meant, like taking time for themselves, but also things like style and like personal authenticity and figuring out who they were. So that was a process. And once people began doing that, like the very people who I was having trouble matching became matched in a matter of like 4 to 6 weeks. And that was a game changer. And that's when the light bulb went off in my head. Like I knew that relationships were more than about the other person, but that really drove home the point that relationships are primarily about us. And once we sort of get ourselves aligned with all the goodness that there is, a couple things happen, right? If you've got someone in your life that, is not going to be in alignment with your best self, then they go. No hard feelings, right? And if you're looking for a partner, then you now are in alignment with the type of person that you'd like to meet, and that's a positive. And if you're with a partner and then they choose to stay, usually they elevate to exactly where you are. And that is dope. And that's what relationships are all about. So we're going to be talking to experts, other people about their relationships, their experiences. We'll do everything from talking about those who are single, like what can they do right now in the time of COVID? What can you do with the holiday season coming up? We'll talk about things like date night for those of us that have partners, how to enhance our relationships, how to make them better, how to create and maintain the spark that we had initially when we first met, people. So that's what we're doing here at Maxing You. And we'll be here every week and we'll have tidbits of advice. But what's really important to me is that every time that you watch an episode, that you will not only have maybe laughed, enjoyed the episode, had a little bit of entertainment, but that you will walk away with a true sense of like a to-do, right? An actionable item, something that we talked about that you can go out and practice. And so that the next time you come back and you listen to us, you are, a little bit more growth-minded. And you see improvement in your life. I want this to be something, that can help you because you're taking the time to listen to me instead of doing the many other things you have to do. And I'm going to be really respectful of that time. So that's what we're doing at Maxing You. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the next episode.